Hello everyone, my name is Alexey, and it's easy to change styles on your web page based on the size of browser's window using CSS. But what if we have to change our layout based on size of individual objects, blocks on our page? This is where Resize Observer comes to the game. Whether you're a seasoned developer or just starting your coding journey, you have to acquire with Resize Observer, a powerful browser API with built-in optimizations to track the size of your objects. It will definitely help you build in complex interfaces and track the size of your objects in most optimized way. So please like and let's go to the practice. Okay, let's move to the code and let me show you why we have Resize Observer and for which purpose it could be useful. So I have really basic HTML plus CSS layout with two boxes. And here I have Coral box, it's div, and the next div is text box with content editable attribute, which allows me to change this div like a text area, something like that. Yes? And what if I want to change the color of my box if its width will be less than 150 pixels? Usually you will think about, okay, we have media queries, so I can use media queries for resize, or even in advanced scenarios, I can use container queries. But the problem that is no relation with screen size here. Here we have to deal with blocks in our page, with content of our blocks and width of our blocks without resizing the screen. So the only thing has changed is the content block on our page itself. And unfortunately, CSS has no neat and universal method to control it. Here, JavaScript and Resize Observer come to the game, and let me show you how we can control and how we can observe width and height of our objects on the screen without bound to the window size. We will bound only on the content size inside our page. Okay, let's move to our Resize Observer basics, and firstly we have to get our box by query selector. So const box equals to document query selector, and here we have to provide class box, and it will be our Coral box. Nice. Then we have to create our observer, so const observer equals to new Resize Observer, and for listen our changes we just have to write observer observe and pass here our HTML element, our DOM node, so observer dot observe, and here we have to provide our box. Nice. And every single time when the size of the box will change, Resize Observer will call the function we have to pass as a callback to our Resize Observer. So let's do it. Here we will have a function, and as a parameter, this function will take entries, and there we will have all information about our changes. So entries. And here we will have all the information. And interesting thing is that with one observer we can observe many elements. So let's observe the container. Let's get the container by document query selector. So it will be our container, and it will be our container by class container. It's here. And then we have to write observer observe and pass here our container. And let's log our entries. So console.log entries. Nice. And let's move to our console. Cool, and here we can see an array with two objects. So let's open this array, and first Resize Observer entry points to our Coral box. So we can see in our target div.box. And the interesting property here is content tracked. In content tracked we can see position of our element, its width, its height, or etc. And the same thing with the second object. It points to our container, and here we can also see the same structure with height, width, etc. So let me clear the console and let me write something in our editable div. And in our console we can see a bunch of changes. Our Coral box has changed, but our container's width remains the same. So what's going on? We can see in our console array with only one Resize Observer entry, and its Resize Observer entry points to our box with new content rect, and as we can see, our width reduced. But we don't see here our Resize Observer entry related to our container, because our container remains the same. So if I will move window, I will see new Resize Observer entry because our container has changed and our Coral box also has changed, and we can see here new content rect, and it's became wider. Nice. This is what's happening with the observer. So we have two different elements, and every single time the size of one of these elements will change, function in Resize Observer will be called, and we will have an opportunity to see our observed elements. Probably the most time you will use content rect, but you can investigate another information in this object and use for your purposes. Nice, and it was basics of Resize Observer entry, and what we can receive in our callback function. So let's use it for real task. Okay, let's move to the real task, and let it be what I've said at the start of this video. I want to change the color of my box to blue-violet if its width will be less than 150 pixels. Let's do it. And first let's remove observing from the container because it was done only for demo purpose. So let's remove this and let's remove this. Cool. And let's write the body of our callback function. So firstly we have to get our element. So const box element equals to entries, and from entries we have to get first element because it's array and it will be our Coral box. So entries 0. Cool. Then we have to define if our element smaller than a specific number or its width above the specific number. So const is small equals to box element content rect with less than 150. Nice. And then we have to paint our box element depends on is small flag. So box element target style background color equals to, so if our element is small, we have to paint it into blue violet, and in another way we have to paint it into coral like default. Nice. And that's it. Let's refresh our page and let's try to collapse our rectangle. I will write some letters here. And yes, if our rectangle became less than 150 pixels, our rectangle became blue-violet. But if I will remove some symbols, it will coral again. That's it. How it works, and we achieved our task. Amazing. Let's summarize. Resize Observer is a cool API which allows us to observe the behavior of any element on our page, unlike the CSS media queries, because CSS media queries are only bound to the width of the browser window. And another cool thing about Resize Observer is that quite performant. It does all checks inside of your browser. You don't have to set up event listeners and pass the only element which was changed to the callback. This is already under the hood. It's a brilliant instrument for complex scenarios when you have to do something depending on the page element size. So please like, subscribe, stay tuned, please check the description and share the ideas about the next videos. Bye!